What's up? Black men will become depressed when obsessing over impressing people. Now, this is a big reason. This is a big reason why a lot of men go into acting like a thug, acting like a criminal, um, being in a gang life, doing things like that purely because they're trying to impress people and they're trying to look cool. I can tell you right now, there's so many dudes that I grew up with who had parents who loved them. They grew up in a situation where they could have thrived if they chose to, but they did what was cool, right? They did what was cool, and what was cool? It was cool to act like a thug. It was cool to act like you came from nothing. It was cool to, you know, act like you was gonna kill somebody if they disrespected you. It was cool to be a part of gangs and be a criminal. Those were the cool things to do at that time. And one of the things that we have to get away from is trying to impress people, because impressing people also causes you to be jealous of people, right? Because you want to be up there, you want to keep up with the Joneses, that's a wording where you want to keep up with what everybody is doing so you can feel like you're up there with them, and I think that there's so many times that I've hung around people who were super jealous. So they always had to know what everybody was doing. They always had to keep up with who got a new car and who got a new job and who is doing good and who's doing bad in life. So he can identify how he could be, right? So how he could act like he's up there with them as well, because that is something that a lot of people overlook when it comes to the black community and black men. There's so many black men who go into hurting themselves, not knowing that they're hurting themselves because they're trying to be cool, right? And see, the bad thing about it is this is so ingrained to our culture that we have to really have a cultural reconstruction. We have to start breaking apart what's actually hurting us and labeling it as our culture, right? So black men don't need to be known for being gangsters and thugs and criminals or even rappers. We don't need to be known for hurting ourselves and hurting our community, because right now it's a stereotyping of us really being a way that hurts us, that hurts our community, that makes us look bad, but also it's not productive, it's hurting us. So that is something that is really big that we have to fix. And I really believe we fix it by changing the culture of what's cool, right? We have to change what we think is cool. And I think we do that by having men come together in real life, and we're educating each other. We're working out together. We're practicing better eating habits. We're doing things where we come together as as a community to help each other individually, and that's a community that I'm creating that will be in real life soon. And one thing we're going to do is we're going to tackle all the things to really change the culture of what it is to be cool, what it is to be strong, what it is to be masculine, right? Because the more we can change that, the more we can have young men growing up and they're actually having habits that help them. They actually know how to self manage each other, because one thing that the black community is horrible at with black men is we don't really know how to self manage each other, right? We don't know how to control ourselves, how to take care of ourselves from the inside out, right? And I think that you can't just look at that in a pure financial, you know, um, mentality, which financial is a part of it. And that's something that we're gonna help men make more money, help men keep a job and get a job and do all those things. But it's also about every other aspect of who you are, your physical health, eating right, your how you think about yourself and your mentality, you know, educating us on our history and stuff. Because I really think that that plays a part in you liking yourself too. And, learning about sexual energy, all these things will produce men who are strong and who are powerful, that not only can go out there and work hard in life in other areas in life, but they just know how to manage themselves. They know how to take care of themselves, right? And so that's something that's very important. And this is what will get us away from being in competition with each other. Instead, we're gonna look at each other how we look at ourselves, and then we're gonna be able to not only learn from each other but learn with each other, right? So I think that that's something that I'm starting, and that's something that I believe is going to be a solution to changing what we think is cool and what the younger generation is going to look up to. So that's something that really just has to um be in effect, because it's so many times that I just see that I've seen that so much. You People don't really understand how much you see that with black men. A lot of us chase what's cool, right? A lot of us weren't even real thugs and gangsters. We became a real thug and gangster. They became real thugs and gangsters, but they didn't grow up that way. That was purely a choice because it was cool and it was ideal, and that's what they thought would give them respect. But we have to understand, you can't see, that's what I'm saying. It's a, the enemy has really designed it for us where we think good is bad and bad is good. We think hurting ourselves is going to give us more respect. We think becoming a criminal is going to help us. We think becoming a thug is going to help us because that's cool and that's what people are going to like, when really you don't need to operate on what people like. You have to operate on what's going to help you and what's going to be productive in you becoming the best version of yourself. Don't be tricked in the illusion that you're doing something bad for yourself, but it's good for you because people like it and people socially accept it. So that's something that really has to be tackled in the community, because that really does run rampant and that really destroys the trajectory of what the black man can be, because we're so caught up on, I gotta look cool, I gotta act like a thug because that's what the girls like, that's what the dudes respect, right? So you don't have to go out and be like that. And I'm gonna be changing that, right? And it's not gonna just be me, but it's gonna be a community of men who are like-minded, and we're all working together to help each other as individuals, and to really just spread that, so that we just have that cultural change, and we have young men growing up, knowing how to manage themselves and self-develop and self-improve themselves. And there needs to be a culture around doing that. That's what's going to give us a chance to really be powerful and dangerous when it comes to the enemy, whoever you may think the enemy is, but the enemy, because the enemy is real, because evil is real. So that's all I got to say. Peace out.